Hey, Melissa.
Hi.
Thank you for agreeing to chat with me today. I'm so excited to talk about everything honey and all of the creative goods that you kind of bring alongside your business and, explore. So I wanted to just like introduce you, but also just have you chat a little bit about your journey. So I met you in person. It was like 2021, I think, at the Resilience show that Emily and Mullet and I did. And we were following each other on social, I think, for a while at that point. But so you have a honey production in Phoenixville, and that's your business, but you have other things that kind of go along with it. And I would love for you to just share a little bit about your business, what inspired you to get started, and how your journey has evolved over the years.
Okay, so we got started in it was May of 2015, and it was actually a little bit before then because you do have to do a little bit of planning and learn some things, I think, at least
Yeah.
before jumping in and getting your bees. So I want to say it was the winter prior. My husband kind of said, "Hey, let's get bees," out of the blue. And I was like, "Cool, I'm into bugs. Bees are right in there, so let's do this." So I signed up to get a starter hive, which is called a nucleus hive. So it's just 5 bee frames with a queen, and picked those up in May and kind of went from there. So I think by about 2018, I had gotten pretty good at this. And he had, for the most part, started the beekeeping, but he goes out to sea. So most of the work ended up falling to me because the bees have to be kept year round. You can't just leave them to their own devices.
Right.
So by 2018, I had pretty much taken over the majority of it and had an excess of honey to where it was more than I could consume a given year.
So this was
And
just for fun, like at this
yeah,
time.
totally just for fun. I think we were up to 4 hives by that point, and
Okay.
the numbers fluctuate depending on whether the bees swarm, if you need to make splits to control swarming. It's a lot of kind of moving parts throughout the year. So the numbers change a little bit, but 4 hives at that point. I think by 2019, I had decided that, okay, there's enough excess honey that I could probably start selling it. Got everything rolling with Department of Agriculture, got my licensing, and got officially set up and ready to sell. So then 2020, I joined farmers markets, and now I'm in season 10 of
Wow.
beekeeping. Yeah.
Wow. So wait, that first hive, did it really go well, or were there any like crazy things that happened with that? I'm
I
just
know it went,
curious.
yeah, very well. So the first hive, you can make a split to make a second hive. So we made our split and we finished that first year with 2 hives,
Okay.
and they both did very well. And I can't remember if we lost one that winter or not, but maybe we did. Winter losses aren't uncommon. It's just kind of, you can do all the prep you want, and sometimes nature doesn't work out.
Right.
Uh, yeah.
And what
So
about the second hive with the queen bee? Did you have to get another queen, or how does that work?
they'll raise their own.
Oh, wow.
So as long as they have freshly laid eggs from the prior queen, you can take that frame of eggs, put it into a new hive, bring it with some food and some bees, and they will raise a new queen to replace the queen that they don't have.
Huh, that's fascinating. So when did you go full time with this then? To 2020, you said, or 2000?
Yeah, 2019, 2020.
Okay. And so at that point you quit your job or
Yeah, I had quit my full-time office job, I guess, about, I don't know, probably about 10 years prior, 8 years
oh,
prior.
okay.
Kind of took on a small photography business and, families, small events. And then,
Oh, nice.
yeah, so
I
once
did
the
not know
beekeeping,
this.
yeah, so once the beekeeping took over, like 2019, 2020, that had to take a complete backseat. I haven't really done anything in photography, getting paid for photography for a very long time.
Yeah. I love watching your videos when you share about going to the hive. Like it's so fascinating to me. I've been to a swarm bus in honey. I think I told
Yeah.
you the story, but I went one time. I was working on their logo a long, long time ago, and I walked around like where all the hives were, like completely uncovered with wall. And it was the most exhilarating and crazy experience I've ever had. And there was just like bees landing on me, and then I was like, okay, I've done this, been there, done that. I'm never doing that again without like the right equipment. But but I love watching your videos. It's like really fun to be alongside that journey with you and see it. And it's just some of the like the hives themselves and like the honey when it's coming, it's just like beautiful. It's like really, it must be like really inspiring to watch.
Yeah, it's an odd sense of calm. So you mentioned all the bees buzzing around, they were landing on you and everything. And granted, I'm in a full suit and gloves and boots, so it doesn't bother me at all. I'm protected.
Yeah.
But there's something about that buzz that you think would be jarring, but it's the exact opposite. It's very calming and peaceful. That background hum, I really, it's kind of my happy place.
Yeah,
And
I
I
can
really enjoy
imagine
it.
that. Love that. Is there anything else you wanted to share about that?
I guess, well, we started out with that one hive, and the first nucleus box that we got came from Walt. Actually, it's more
Oh,
Boston.
really? Oh,
So
that's so
everything
funny.
has been a succession of that hive, and I'm up to 15 now.
Wow. They're in different locations, right? You have like different people hosting or allowing you to host
Yeah,
different hives,
yeah.
mostly in Phoenixville or all in Phoenixville?
All in the zip code. So it's East Pikelands, East Vincent, Kimberton, and in the borough.
Oh, that's so fun. So you just kind of travel around daily, or what does that look like?
Yeah, each location, depending on the time of year, it'll either be once a week or every other week.
Okay.
I'll go to each hive again, either once a week or every other week, just to check on them, take honey, make sure they're healthy and happy.
That's it's so fun. So I want to also talk about your artistic endeavors, which kind of like, I guess it makes sense because you were in photography. So I have loved, watching you because you're a multi-talented artist and I've seen like silk screens and other art. And didn't you do like etching as well? You also
Yeah.
sew and make your own clothing. And I just would love to hear like what it means to you to be able to like balance, the beekeeping with your artistic endeavors and what it's like to do that, like to run the business and then have these like other things that you pour into.
Sure. So, as a small business owner, as I know you're aware, you wear all the hats for the business, whether it's running a market stand, running marketing, product research and development, and making the actual thing, and social media manager. It's every single one of those you do to some degree by yourself, whether you're looking for someone to maybe help you with a certain aspect of that, but you're still taking on the burden of keeping all those parts moving.
Right, managing it.
So, our logo, actually the little bee with a honeycomb shape
Mm-hmm.
around it, started in a printmaking class years before the business became a thing.
Oh,
Um,
that's so funny.
yeah. So when the business ended up coming into being, I already had a logo ready to go, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, any kind of printmaking classes that I took with Jillian were fantastic. She is a great teacher, gives you a lot of, creative space to do your thing and then guides you with the technical details.
Yeah,
Just what
she
I love.
taught me how to do it as well.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
I miss her.
Yeah.
So having that printmaking class really kind of lit something, and I've enjoyed, lino cut, etching, all kinds of dry point stuff. It's that same thing like with beekeeping. You're working with your hands, and then in art, especially printmaking, any kind of drawing, watercolors, you're getting your hands dirty. You're working with your hands to physically create something,
Yeah.
and there's some kind of joy in seeing the product of something that you did with your own two hands that just it feeds something in me that makes me
Right.
happy.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. And like that connection to the present moment. It definitely is similar to probably beekeeping. Yeah.
Yeah, and slowing down, a lot of beekeeping is paying attention to what's going on in the hive, these little subtle messages that they'll send you with, they need more space, they need help with a problem. So when you learn to slow down and read those cues, it makes you a better beekeeper.
And then probably like that parallels in life with other things too, maybe.
Yeah, with art too, you're slowing down, paying attention to your medium, the, paints or ink that you're using, the process. It's kind of understanding and appreciating that slow, not just doing something to finish it, but doing something to enjoy the process.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, which is a great segue because one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about is just like as a beekeeper, you have this unique perspective on the natural world. And I just wondered, because it's something that really fascinates me within my own artwork, but like how has this like working closely with the bees deepened your connection to nature and impacted your art and your life?
Yeah, so I remember one of our first beekeeping classes. I asked a question about, oh, when do you put honey supers on the hive? And I was looking for a calendar date, do that on April 15th every year, guaranteed. But the answer that I got was, oh, when the dandelions are blooming. And I kind of went, well, how do you, like, that's not something I can put a reminder on the calendar for.
You have to be aware. Yeah.
Right? You have to really pay attention to what's happening outside and take a minute to look around and go, oh, okay, the maples finished blooming, the dandelions are next. So I should probably get ready to do the next step. And those natural cues, whether it's, we just passed solstice, so we're starting to wind down for the year because there's less light available. The bees follow that natural calendar, not a prescribed, it's October 15th, and you have to do this and you have to treat for mites. And you just keep an eye on everything that's going on.
Yeah. So you said when you have to do what was the first thing that you said with the dandelions? A super, or what did you say it was? You're gonna have to
Yeah, so
explain it because I don't know what it is.
beekeeping terminology, right?
Yeah.
A honey super is just the box that you put on top so that the bees store honey in there, and they naturally want to fill honey from the top to the bottom. Generally, every hive has its own attitude,
Okay.
so some of them do things differently,
Uh,
but generally top to bottom. So you put those honey supers on top, and they're smaller, shorter boxes that to store the honey.
oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's helpful. So that's when they start producing honey. It's essentially when the dandelions come.
Yeah, every beekeeper will have a slightly different metric, different flower that they follow, but it's generally a brown dandelion time.
Okay. So it's funny because last year there's a bush. It's not a bush, it's a flower, but it looks like a bush because it's really big. And I actually don't know what the name of it is, but it was at our house when we bought it and we moved it from the backyard to the front yard. And it's just this beautiful purple and it blooms for like a month. And there's these moths they just love it. And I started to figure out from a rhythmic standpoint, my daughters would come out there and they'd be playing with these. They just love to like watch the moths and try to catch them, but they really can't. And I noticed that like when the moths leave in the fall, like that's when like the season's over. And it makes me kind of sad because I'm like, oh, so now I see like the buds on that one plant out front and I'm like, oh, that means it's like the beginning of the end. Like once that thing flowers and it's completely done, then the moths are gone and then like my favorite season's gone. But so it's like I can really relate to that because I didn't actually used to see rhythms like that and nature like that, but I do feel like I'm kind of paying attention to things like that more and more too the older I get. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
Love that.
and year to year, how it can be so different. Because I think this year and last year we were running about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the 30-year average.
Oh,
So
okay.
everything was blooming earlier, faster because spring is warming up earlier. So every year can be different too.
Oh yeah, so that's why it makes sense to pay attention to like when things are blooming versus a particular calendar date. Love that. So, yeah, I want to talk about this. This is a really fun thing. You've shown up to two of my art shows wearing a dress that you custom made from one of my patterns. And I can see that you're wearing the first one that I saw you in, which is like the buttercup and bee pattern. And it was such a cool feeling to see this happen. Like, I just had this moment of like, wait a minute, because I hadn't met you in person, I don't think, before that event. And so, we had been following each other online. And then I saw you and I was like, wait, I think I recognize that. And I just wondered like what, because I know you do this with other people and you are just like you're such a supportive person in the arts and in our local community. And I just wondered like what motivates you to support and collaborate with local artists and businesses. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you enjoyed it because it was a little bit of a gamble for me. I went, okay, I know that I can get this fabric online, but it was, how is it going to land? So,
It was like so cool. It was one of the coolest things.
um, so I guess there's something really neat about art that can stand alone, frame it, hang it on the wall. It's something beautiful on its own, but when you can incorporate art into something that you would use every day, whether it's a dress, a shirt, a skirt, an item of clothing, or table linens, or a print that you upholster a chair with. It takes the art from being a beautiful thing that you can put on your wall to a useful piece of your life that you will see and appreciate on a daily basis. So for me, sewing is an act of, I don't know, body positivity. I get a garment that fits me perfectly because it's tailored exactly to my own measurements. So it's confidence and I get
Oh,
to
and
wear something that's really pretty.
yeah,
So
yeah, they're incredible. Like you're so talented and they're beautiful. And it reminds me, so my grandmother, she had 5 girls and she used to sew everything for them. So she was born, it was like 1920, I think it was like 1921, somewhere right around there. And the last she had a few dresses that she was like downsizing and we were, cleaning up and she's going to get rid of these dresses and they were sewn by her and I was like, oh, I'm going to take one. And so I wore one to her 90th birthday that she had sewn and she was sitting with like her friends and it was the cutest thing. Like she recognized it that like, oh my gosh, is that the dress I said? It was just such a cool like moment. And it kind of reminds me of like how I felt when I saw you wearing that. And I really think it's this like collaboration that you're, because like you took something and made something that I made and made it into your own in a very unique and really cool way. And so I love that. And I just think it speaks to kind of like what this show is about a little bit and like why, I mean, when I say this show, I didn't even talk about that, but you're going to be at Nature's Table, which is a show, an art show that Jackie Hennessy and I are having at Artwork Gallery in October, Artworks Gallery in October. And so, and you're going to be at the opening night sharing some honey samples. And so I wondered if you could actually share a little bit about the honey that's going to be there at that time of year and like what can people expect that's different about that honey?
sure. So later in the season, the honey that's coming off the hives tends to be darker in color. It's a richer flavor, kind of molasses, maple syrup, brown sugar sort of flavors going on. So in the spring, it's the exact opposite. It's very light, delicate, and floral. So we'll
Yeah.
have a range of the three main honeys that I kind of break down the season into, that light and then the medium and then the dark.
Oh, you have a little bit of all of them.
Oh yeah.
So what makes it darker? Like what is the flower or the fruit or what is it that makes it darker?
Usually
If you
that
met
time
one.
of Yeah, no, that time of year it ends up being a little bit of a mixed bag. In the spring, it's we have these huge tree blooms. Those pretty much end by end of June, early July. So
Mhm.
it's a mixed wildflower bag. There's usually a fair amount of Japanese knotweed, invasive plant, absolutely terrible, but it produces a lot of nectar and it makes the
Okay,
honey
what
a
does that
little,
one look like?
it's got these really foamy sprays of flowers.
Okay, I don't
You
know.
usually see it growing in, weedy river by rivers and streams and lakes.
Okay. Sorry, you were saying it
So it
makes
makes
it.
the honey this really cool reddish color.
Mm.
Super interesting flavor. Sometimes, depending on the year or two, we'll have a little bit of spotted lanternfly intrusion into that late summer honey. There aren't as many this year, so it probably won't be as noticeable, but it's definitely in there. Any kind of sap sucking insect, they leave behind some of the tree sap.
Okay.
So that waste product is just sugar water essentially. And the
Oh.
bees go and collect it off of the plants that it drops on and take it home and make honey.
Oh, does that like cause any problems with the honey or does it not taste as good or does it just
It depends on your palate. I think it tastes delicious, and some people get kind of grossed out. It's a natural product that's found all over the world. I think
yeah.
in Europe they'll call it forest honey to make
Yeah.
it sound a little bit more palatable. It's the same
There we
thing.
go. That works. Forest honey. Yeah, that's fun. I love to see like the spectrum of colors. I think I was looking on your website and you could see the different pictures throughout the year. And it was really neat to see the spectrum of colors and how beautiful it is. So the last thing I like wanted to talk to you about is around process and just inspiration. And I would just love to hear, like what the creative routine is or just like the routine with beekeeping, but like also just the rhythm of your daily life, because I'm sure it's kind of different than what other people do. So could you walk us through like a typical day in your life, balancing the beekeeping and, maybe creative projects and like what that looks like for you in case other people are inspired to try something similar.
Sure. So it varies depending on the time of year. So May and June are absolutely chaotic with the beekeeping work. That's the peak of the season. Everything's blooming. We're transitioning from spring into summer. The bees are at their peak activity level. So there's not a whole lot of time for anything but beekeeping in May and June, which is unfortunate, but it's short-lived. I mean, it's only 2 months. You can
Yeah.
make it through it. Usually get a little bit of a dip in activity July and August. So I get a little bit of leeway to work on some other things. But business wise, you're also starting to prep for holiday markets. So that's usually when I do get more screen printing done,
Yeah.
both because I enjoy the process and to have stock for the fall and winter. So, and then winter time, I usually by mid-December, markets have pretty much, the big hustle bustle markets have pretty much wrapped up. And the beekeeping is fairly well done. I do a little bit over the winter, but not nearly as much. It's once a month instead of once a week.
Mhm.
So I have time from mid-December through early April, usually, depends on the year, to really dig into some of the fun art things. And that playtime has given me inspiration for products for the business. So having that freedom to do whatever I want for about 3 months, and granted, it's not, I still have winter markets, but it's a
Yeah.
lot less of workload in terms of beekeeping. So having that time to play and just have fun and enjoy exploring something new, trying a new pattern, trying a new printmaking technique, or just sitting down with a pen and pencil, pencil and
Yeah.
paper and drawing has sometimes led to something new that works for the business as well.
I love that. And the time of the year too. Like I feel like January and February and March are such good times to just like hunker down and like cozy up and just not have to deal with the hustle and bustle of kind of everyday life and just slow down in the winter. But also, like you said, the creative free play. I think that that's really important for me too. And I've realized for myself that some of that is just literally like kind of what you do every day when you're with the hives is just to like take time away from the screen or even the art practice and just go and be in nature so that I can like absorb those benefits that you have from the other side of your business. So you mentioned that you create products for the markets. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think I bought a couple things from you last year to use for like a tea towel that was silk screened, right? So you have like when you go to the markets, you have your honey, but then you also have what else you have at your stands. I want to hear about
Uh, Beeswax candles, because the wax is kind of a byproduct of the honey process. So I might as well make use of it. And then hand printed tea towels and tote bags usually. So I dye and print everything myself at home. We also did a collaboration this year, which was super fun with Dan of the Bunyip Collective.
that.
So
Okay.
he made a design that then I printed on tote bags, and we donated a part of that to Natural Lands.
Oh, that's
So kind of
awesome.
use that as a fundraiser for them. Really excited. That was a ton of fun to work with him and have that design and then the final product to kind of combine our two talents to make something that was well received. And I had fun talking to people too, saying, okay, well, $5 goes to Natural Lands. What's your favorite Natural Lands? Because everyone has one.
Yeah. Do you have a link? Is that bag still available?
I think I sold the last one last week, 2 weeks
Oh,
ago.
bummer. I was like, oh, we'll share it. Well, I'll
I
have to
would love to do that again, though. That was a lot of fun.
that's really neat. If you have a link or anything to that, I'll include it in the notes so people can check it out because I think that'd be really fun to see. So also wanted to ask you what are your future goals for Phoenixville Honey and your artistic endeavors, and if there's any upcoming projects or collaborations that you're excited about.
I guess it's just kind of maintaining the status quo. I don't really want to add on more hives. I'm at a pretty good place where I can usually maintain a good balance between the beekeeping work and everything else. So I'm pretty happy where I'm at in terms of the beekeeping. Maybe some new products here and there. There's always something new that I'll add or try out for the season. So this year's these cute little honey bear jars that they They borderline look a little creepy to me, but everyone else thinks they're adorable. So I don't,
Or like
it's just me.
nostalgic, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are going to be fun, and I'll probably have those this fall. The annual sampler box, so it's those 3 varieties of honey in a box. That's so that way you can, it's a nice gift, or you can try all 3 at once without
Those
committing
are
to the
so
full size jar.
pretty as a gift
Yeah.
set. They have like a wax seal on them, right? Too.
Oh, the mouth jars. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're really pretty. They're fun to dip the cork into the wax and seal everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Good Food Fest coming up this fall, which is always a fantastic time. I enjoy that. It's kind of a punctuation mark at the end of the season. Most farmers, people who work in agriculture, are wrapping up the bulk of their season, starting to slow down. So having that as a celebration to mark the end of a long year's worth of work
Yeah.
is always tons of fun. I look forward to it every year.
Such a great group of people. It's just
Yeah.
an incredible event. Yeah. So, oh, sorry, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Maybe a new design. I'm trying to set aside time to get that done, like a tea towel design, but
Mhm.
finding time can be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that'll be like in the winter. So, yeah, I'm excited for you to be at the event. I think it's going to be really fun. I love that you wore that dress today. That's so special. Where can people find you? So I know Phoenixville Farmers Market, right? So if they wanted to come and in person, are you not there now?
No,
Oh, you
uh,
never.
no, fellow beekeeper is at the Phoenixville market,
Oh,
so
okay.
try not to step on toes. I don't want to encroach on their territory, and they're kind of my mentors, so
Oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Well, you're at a lot of farmers markets though. So which
Yeah,
ones can people find you at if they're interested in stopping by?
sure. The Downingtown, Eagle View, and Malvern farmers markets, and I have a whole schedule on my website, and there are a couple little pop-up festivals and things like that in there, so I keep that pretty well updated. And then a bunch of different markets this fall. So the craft and mercantile markets,
Those are so
uh,
like magical, those events.
they're a ton of fun, a lot of great vendors, and just, I don't know, you're walking around and you're seeing your friends and your neighbors, and it's a whole community event. So, a couple of other fall markets, but yeah, pretty busy.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking your time out of your schedule to chat with me. I loved hearing about this. I know other people will too. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, you too. It's great.
Bye, Melissa.
Bye.